Hi guys, welcome back to Gen Sustainable. I hope you all are living an impactful and sustainable life. And in today's podcast, we have a very interesting guest with us, Rini. Now, Rini has a very interesting background. She's an architect and urban planner, just like me. But then after that, she took the path of sustainability, but a quite different path than what I took. Now I went on to pursue sustainability in the private sector and private domain. But Rini has been a consultant to government bodies. So she has worked on several government projects as a consultant. So Rini has worked with several government bodies and assisted them in various projects like Maji Vasundhara, Swachh Bharat Mission, etc. So today we'll learn from her and understand from her journey till now, and also get some tips for all of y'all out there who are looking forward to work as consultants in the government department, in several government bodies ranging from like local municipalities to state and central government departments. So let's get started and listen from her. So hi Rini, welcome to
Hi, Gen Sustainable.
Gen Sustainable, and
Thank you for inviting me.
thank you for coming here. So first, let's begin with your background. Tell us about your journey till now, from your educational background, on what all, which all companies or which all government bodies have you worked with, and how your experience so far is.
Right. So, like you had mentioned, I have done my bachelor's degree in architecture, and people who are pursuing the degree or have completed their degree will understand while pursuing architecture only, you kind of realize that where you're leaning to, what kind of design appeals to you most, whether you are the glass and steel facade kind of an architect, the modern, or you are more towards Zaha Hadid fluid architecture, or you are like Charles Correa. I mean, your design thinking is more towards Charles Correa. So I had always leaned towards natural, more greener architecture, maybe mud bricks. So I was always leaning towards that. So after doing my bachelor's, my first job also was luckily in one of the green universities, you could say. It's in Neemrana. The university is NIT University, and they have done a lot in green architecture. They actually don't have any ACs.
Okay.
They have earth air tunnels. So
Okay.
that is where they cool air naturally through through underground thermal cooling.
Okay.
So they have actually built tunnels 4 meters down the earth,
ground.
down the ground, where they suck in ambient air. The earth's temperature naturally cools it, and then through air pressure pumps, they are thrown out in different vents. I mean, in vents in different classrooms,
Right,
halls,
right.
etc. So this is one of the biggest things that they have done, but this is just one of them. They had done several things.
Right.
So that sort of gave me an even more push towards greener architecture, sustainable living. So then I decided to do my master's in urban planning.
Okay.
So basically, even that, I was more towards the environment planning, leaning towards
Right,
more
right,
environment
right.
planning. So that is where I did my environment planning master's. And then after doing that, I was selected for a project in Indian Institute of Public Administration, and the project was sustainable living and with focus on DRR in hill cities.
Okay.
And our sample study state was Sikkim.
Oh, nice.
So
So you lived in Sikkim.
yes, I mean, my base was in Delhi, but we had to do a lot of back and forth because obviously they were field visits,
Right,
they were
right.
stakeholder consultations.
Right.
So we had to do a lot of back and forth in Sikkim. So that was a very good project, and once that project's tenure was done, so then I moved to a Big Four. And then in Big Four, the project was Swachh Bharat Mission. So this was the first time I was doing something at such a grand scale, which meant managing municipal solid waste.
Right.
So before I actually started working on the project myself, I did not understand the gravity of the situation. I always knew theoretically that the landfill sites are overwhelmed. segregation is not taking place. I knew everything I knew theoretically, but when you actually go to these plants, treatment plants and these sites, that is when it actually occurs to you that what situation, what is the actual situation. So that's how I got into Swachh Bharat mission, and I have worked in Swachh Bharat mission for like 4 odd years now.
Right.
Simultaneously, I've also worked in a Maharashtra state initiative. It's called Majhi Vasundhara. Majhi Vasundhara works in a similar fashion like Swachh Bharat mission. You have a toolkit, and the cities have to adhere to the toolkit. And how well they have done, accordingly, they get marks, and then they get ranked on those marks.
Okay.
Except Majhi Vasundhara focuses particularly on environmental factors.
Okay.
And Majhi Vasundhara, even the factors, even the indicators are divided into 5 parts, which is, and then the inspiration is taken from our own culture, which is they have divided it into Bhumi, Vayu, Jal, Agni, and Akash.
Okay.
And Bhumi means you have to do plantation, you have to take care of the soil erosion. Jal means you have to take care of your water bodies. Vayu means you have to address your air pollution problems, noise pollution problems. Fire means you have to focus on renewable energies.
Right.
All your street lights should be converted to solar lights.
Okay.
Stuff like that. And then Akash is enhancement. Basically, that is entirely how involved your citizens are in the project, in actual sustainable living. So you have to encourage citizens to take up more activities like cyclothons, clean up drives, stuff like that.
So what is a cyclothon?
So cyclothon is a marathon but on cycle. So this is an initiative where you encourage non-motorized public transport. Non-motorized transport.
Okay, got it. That's a very interesting, I would say, journey that you have. So can we understand more, what did you actually do in Sikkim? Now Sikkim sounds very fascinating, and you worked on disaster management in hill areas.
Yes.
So can you give a brief about what the project was? And hey guys, we had to move this indoors because it started raining outside, but nonetheless we still have Rini with us. So moving on, Rini,
Yes.
now Sikkim sounds really fascinating, and you said you worked on disaster management in Sikkim.
Right.
So can you tell something more about the project you worked on in Sikkim?
Right. So the project in Sikkim basically was divided into 2 major parts. So the first part was on-ground implementation, and the second part was research, where we had to write papers. So on the on-ground implementation, we had identified a few model GPUs, GPUs as in Gram Panchayat units.
Okay.
And we had to go to these particular Gram Panchayat units and hold stakeholder meetings with the local community over there, and we had to go there multiple times so that they become familiar with us also. And so when you do stakeholder meetings, there are a lot of practical issues that you come up with, because the community doesn't open up to you at first.
Right.
So you have to build up that trust with the local community also. So we kept going back, we built up the trust, we asked them, we ensured them that we were there to help them. So we asked them what is their lived experience of the space, what they think are the most vulnerable points in their village, which might lead to complex disasters. Complex disasters are one where one disaster leads to another disaster. So an erratic rainfall might lead to a landslide, and a landslide means blocking of the main road where all the facilities are being transported. Now in that case, if you have a medical emergency in the village, how will you take that person to the nearest hospital? So that's a complex disaster. So we asked them to map out particular places where they feel they in their lived experience is a troublesome space.
Right.
And then we propose strategies for those places, how the local community can sort of safeguard themselves in case a disaster takes place. So this was the project basically in Sikkim. Yes.
Right, that's interesting. So the Sikkim project really sounds interesting, but then can you tell us how did you migrate from the Sikkim project to working in a big four as a government sector consultant? So can you tell about that journey?
Right. So the Sikkim project was of 2 years. So after it ended, I had applied to a lot of job portals, LinkedIn, Naukri, and I had also put out my CV in a lot of alumni groups. So I started receiving interview calls for a few projects, and one of the calls that I got was from Big Four, and I had appeared for the interview, and that's how I got in.
So what were the questions they asked you in interview, and on what basis did you get selected for it?
Okay, the project that they were working on was Swachh Bharat Mission, where you have to where we are basically a linkage between the citizens and government,
Right.
and they were looking for someone with a similar profile. So previously, also in the Sikkim project, we were the linkage between the local community and the disaster management authority.
Right.
So I had a lot of experience in dealing with government officials as well as
Right,
the local
right.
community. So that is what they were also looking for, right? So I
Right.
think that was one of the things that
Right. So can you tell how does the day in the life of a government consultant look like, and what are the challenges, or what type of work do you do on a day-to-day basis?
yes. So a typical day starts with your client calling you early in the morning for some emergency, because in government advisory there is always some firefighting happening somewhere, and the consultant is always the first one
To reach out
to reach out to.
for anything.
Yes, it's because the government itself have has so many sectors to take care of, to manage, that there is some issue always going on in some sector. So and because we actually report to IS officers, in some case some projects are reporting directly to the ministers, always a high ranking officer. So basically those are the people who are policy makers, they are the
Right,
decision makers.
right.
So whatever advice we give to them has to be accurate, has to be well researched,
Right.
so that we provide actual solutions, because those solutions are the ones that are actually going to be implemented on ground, that will
Right.
have a direct impact on the lives of
Right.
citizens.
Right.
So it is a stressful job, yes. It is not a 9 to 5 job, it is not a corporate job where you can just take off. Even when we go on a holiday, we always carry our laptop, because we know the client will anytime give us a
Right,
call.
right.
Yes, it's a high impact, high rewarding sort of a job profile, you can say.
Right. And I can relate to this because even I had worked with the state government for some time, wherein you have to direct report to IS officers,
Yes.
and I can understand the amount of pressure that you have when you have to directly report to IS officers. And again, the work that you give to the IS officers, they are going to present it directly to the ministers.
Correct.
So
Correct.
one of the projects we were working on, the IS officer was actually reporting it like to the environmental minister of Maharashtra.
Yes.
So I think that really creates like a lot of impact when you work in the government
Right.
sector.
Right. And it is also high rewarding, because I remember my manager during COVID time, since the Swachh Bharat mission had was sort of not a priority of the government, because obviously there was so much else to do. So just after the COVID, when things were coming back to normal, I remember his experience. He was telling us that so for 2 years we were not working on it, so we had to suddenly we had to suddenly start now focusing on Swachh Bharat mission, because obviously there is a ranking factor. So so he said one of our ideas was to take negative spaces, like spaces below the bridges, and then convert them into social places, community places. So they had implemented this project. So they had so the flyovers, the spaces below the flyovers, they had converted it into public playgrounds,
Right.
where they had proper basketball courts and tennis courts, and space for classes, karate classes and all. and this was a huge success. A lot of cities replicated it, and this was tweeted by Anand Mahendra also, and my boss still carries that, and he's like, when he puts it in every presentation. So nobody knows that he has done this, but every
Right.
time he passes that space, it's a sense of pride for him.
Right. That
So-
you directly get to see
Yes.
that impact of sustainability, which I
Correct.
think you can miss out when you're working in a regular corporate job,
Right.
which you actually get to see in government consulting.
Right.
That's absolutely amazing. Okay, so apart from Swachh Bharat, what are some other sustainability related projects that you're working on with the government?
So, at the top of my head, I can think of two major projects that I'm currently involved in. So, the first one is Maji Vasundhara. It's a state government initiative, state of Maharashtra. This is also on lines of Swachh Bharat mission, but the main focus of the project is on particularly environment. So even the framework of the project is inspired from the five elements of the nature, that is Bhumi, in which the project focuses on planting and addressing soil erosion. Then Jal, where we focus on water bodies. Then there's Vayu, where the focus is on addressing air pollution. Noise pollution, air pollution. Then there's energy, the Agni, where the focus is on how cities can move from fossil fuels to renewable energy.
Right.
So like solar street lights, etc. And the last one is Akash, where the focus is on enhancement of your citizen awareness. So
Okay.
massive citizen awareness programs, encouraging citizens to use non-motorized public transport.
Right.
You use non-motorized transport or public transport. So that is one project. Another project is citizen-friendly public facilities, where the focus is on what we have done is we've taken an as a situation of the current facility public facilities that we have, and how can we improve those facilities to make it more citizen friendly,
Right.
but keeping sustainability in mind.
Okay, understood.
So those are two major projects.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, so now can you tell us what are some of the skills required or what type of educational background is required if someone wants to get into government consulting in the sustainability roles?
Yes. So the great thing about government advisory is that it covers such a huge spectrum. There's environment, there's health, there's disaster, there's education. So there are multiple types of roles and there are multiple entry points for someone to get into government advisory, and but it depends on their skills and what their education background is. For example, the projects that I'm currently working on, freshers or people with less experience get into communication roles. So that can be public outreach campaigns where they have to reach out to local communities, make them aware. So things like that. Maybe a mid-level team would be involved in project management, project tracking and monitoring, roadmaps implementation, and then a team, and then at strategic level, maybe a team would be involved in a complete project assessment, impact assessment, massive stakeholder meetings, maybe advising the client to go beyond what the mandate is, to highlight that the city is to highlight the city amongst all the other cities. So that's how, multiple sectors, there are multiple levels. So this is the good thing about government advisory, then anybody can get into it.
So it's good that if you want to get into government roles related to sustainability, you can have any type of educational background, but then you just have to link it to sustainability. You should have some basic understanding of what sustainability is.
Yes, but your education background also matters. Either your education background would consist of something in a social sector, or some environment, some course that you have done related to the environment. So something like that would help you not only entering government advisory, but also it would help you in your day-to-day activity also.
So how does all of this that you work in the government sector in sustainability, how does all of this relate to ESG overall?
Okay, so ESG is part of sustainability, which itself is a large umbrella. And once you work at a city level, so the impact that your work has is also at a very large scale because it's at a city level or a state level or central level. You might be knowing CDP, this
Yeah,
is the Carbon
CDP
Disclosure
ratings.
Project.
Yeah.
Yes. So cities are now taking up reporting in the CDP portal. So a few cities in India have done this, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, etc. So and more cities are now taking
Right,
up reporting on CDP. So when you do reporting at a company level, that is a reporting of only that
Only
particular
one
company,
Yeah,
that
right.
industry, that's it. But when you're doing it
At a
city level,
you are reporting the entire city's
yes,
landscape.
correct. So the impact is that much more.
Right, right.
And in terms of social also, I think one of the key points that come in my mind is, so there's this rag pickers and
Yeah, right.
garbage collectors. But okay, you see, when we speak in English, we term them as garbage collectors or rag pickers. But what the government is trying to do is, in local languages, we are trying to remove the word garbage and associate them to cleanliness. So
Right.
instead of kachre wala, you call them safai mitras or safai wala.
Right.
या फिर सफाई कामगार. So that will also sort of in a long term, it will change the perspective, when you're not seeing them associated to garbage, but then you're seeing them associated to cleanliness.
Right.
So this, and there is a subset of Swachh Bharat mission which is called Safai Mitra Suraksha, where you take care, where the cities have to ensure that Safai Mitras are ensured, they have regular health checks, they have proper PPE kits.
Right.
They have completely banned manual scavenging. They really push cities to wherever it's happening, they should take strict actions.
Right.
They are provided low interest, absolutely very low interest loans. Their families are given opportunities. So this is where they are really focusing on the social sector. The mission is focusing on social sector.
Right.
In the governance part also, there are really many programs which are coming up which focus on good governance. So financial transparency at policy level, how does the how can they draft a policy which will encourage good governance? So ESG in government sector is not that apparent, but
overall, I think it
yes,
has all the
it has
components
the same,
of
yes,
ESG. I
yes.
think in private
in
sector,
spirit maybe,
yeah,
not in letter.
Yeah, I think in private sector you have like a very definite bifurcation. Like
Right.
this is E, this is S, this is G. But in
Yes.
government sector, you're actually, all of it is very interlinked and interdependent.
Yes,
So
correct.
as you gave the example of Safai Kamgar, so it also has the social element of not associating them with waste, but associate with cleanliness. But at the same time, you also have the environmental element of
Right.
having the city clean or cleanliness, and you
Right.
also have the governance element in the same component,
Right.
that you do such a massive policy shift, mindset shift.
Right.
So I think each project,
You can't look at things in silos when you're working in a government,
Right.
coming from that perspective.
So I think that's a very interesting take on government consulting and sustainability. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and you got to learn a lot of new things from Rini. And if you have any questions for her, do let me know in the comments below and we will get back to you with all of the answers. And thank you so much, Rini, for coming
Thank you.
on this podcast.
Thank you, Jen Sustainable.
Yes, and we hope to see you again soon on many more podcasts.
Sure.
So till we are back with another video, stay impactful, stay and sustainable. Bye-bye.